You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
Welcome to the Dressage Today podcast, Training Buzz. These short podcasts bring you the best tips straight from our subscription video site, Equestrian Plus. To get full access to over 5,000 videos, go to equestrianplus.com and enter DT Podcast to get 15% off your first month subscription. Now, listen in on this week's buzz and enjoy the ride. Welcome to this week's Training Buzz, sponsored by Purina. Confidently address your horse's unique weight needs and help optimize their overall well-being with research-proven Purina animal nutrition feeds, designed by passionate equine nutritionists. Partner with Purina to nourish your horse to their optimal body condition. Explore weight management resources for your horse today at purinamills.com/feed-finder. You can also follow at Purina Feed Greatness on Instagram and at Purina Horse on Facebook. Today, hear a bit from dressage and horsemanship trainer Monique Potts as she works with a rider on a horse that gets easily distracted by new objects. She has the rider pay attention to the horse's ears. When they fixate on something, then the rider needs to do an exercise like a small circle or a transition to get the ears to switch back to the rider.
Melissa, something I want you to really focus on is where her ears are, okay? So I want you to do your warm-up thinking about exercises that you would already incorporate into your warm-up, but I want you to time them at the moment that her ears kind of fixate onto something, right? So like a walk to trot transition or a tiny circle or a little extra bending or a little extra leg yield. I want you to do that when both of her ears kind of lock onto something. And I want you to do it with enough intensity that both of her ears kind of prick back to you. So like right there, see, she's put an ear on there. She has two ears on something. So maybe overbend her there to the right and do a tiny circle there to your right, even smaller, and see if you can get those ears to pop back where she kind of goes, oh, I'm supposed to be with you. Or maybe even one walk step back up to trot, right? Like give that mind some mental stimulation that there, see her ears came back to you there, right? So I want you in the more relaxed setting to set the precedent to say, you need to be with me right there. Maybe do, yes, exactly. And then maybe, yes. And then take her back up to the trot. So all you're doing is timing things that you already would have in your routine, but time them with where her ears are and what her attention is towards. And I want you to feel like you can get her back to you here. So a mistake that I see people make is they go right towards the scary thing. Now, I'm all for going head on, but I really want you to think, do I have her enough that if I set her up in that situation, am I setting her up for failure? Right? So as you kind of start venturing a little bit maybe towards that area, check in and see, can you get her back to you? Don't go any closer to the place that you think she might not listen to you if there is a place before that she tells you, I won't come back to you, right? So like, if you get between R and M and you cannot get her ears to come back to you, don't venture further into that corner. So just start kind of taking up more of the arena, find more places where she kind of checks out and ignores you, and utilize those exercises, and then start venturing slightly towards where you think she might. Yes. And during that warm-up, I also think about just checking. Is she on every aid? Is she listening to your right leg and your left leg? Is she listening to your right rein and your left rein? So something that kind of gets people into trouble too when they are a little spooky or a little goofy about something is they didn't test that their aids worked well enough, and then their horse decides to spook 10 feet away from this supposed scary object, and they were already ignoring your left leg. There you go. And like right there, her ears are already fixating down here, right? So maybe do a transition, do a small circle, catch it where it starts. So most of the ones that have a tendency of being a little bit looky at something, they tell you way before you even realize. Right? So you might be literally coming around the corner just a little bit down there after A, and that might be the moment that her ears actually start thinking about this end. Something you can think about, like if you were riding a test and you couldn't do something so dramatic, is maybe just a little bit of extra bend or maybe a little bit of extra squeeze with both legs, right? Just make an aid a tiny bit loud. Yeah, bend her, pull her head around. Yeah, and maybe trot her in a 5-meter circle right there 2 or 3 times until her ears really come back to you and she goes, that's kind of hard. Make it hard enough that she goes, oh, I can't fixate on that thing down there. The more distracted she is, the more mentally stimulating you have to be, right? So there will come a point where you just barely close your fingertips and her ears will pop right back to you. If she's overly distracted, it may be that you're going like left bend, right bend, left leg, left, move the hindquarters, like mix it up enough that she's like, I can't even think about anything but what you're asking me. Do like 1 walk stride there and then right back to trot. Yeah, and then back to trot. Yeah, and 1 walk stride. Yeah, and back to trot. There you go. There you go. Okay, now, the only thing I want you to make sure that you don't do is don't stop her where that thing, whatever it is, right, that's bothering her, so that she doesn't learn that she can kind of lock her feet, right? So what you want to do is just maintain control of her feet. So maybe do like a little shoulder in there. Maybe push her off. Yeah, there you go. Yes, that was much better. Yeah, and then like take her 2 feet closer towards it. And then if she gets distracted again, do that circle again. Yes. Yes. Part of what gets people into trouble too is when there's a scary thing, a lot of people want to take their horse to go see it. That just convinces them even more that it's scary. Now, I don't not let them see things, but I just also kind of don't make a big deal about it. I make the big deal about you need to be with me. Yes, that's much better. Yes. Yeah, she got a little, and then send her right back up. Good. Yes, maybe do another walk transition because that she kind of there you go. Yes. Yes. Then send her back forward. Right, like catch it right as that ear kind of goes, boop, I'm over here. Yeah, and then like 1 walk step there and then, yeah. Yes. Good. And so part of too, when we're talking about scary things, right, is stay as soft in your body as you can so that you don't buy into the narrative and the story that it is scary. Now go right back around like you just did, and I want you to see if you can really maintain the exact trot that you were in, right? So that's another thing when they're kind of worried is don't lose any of the rhythm that you had, right? So don't let it get tight or don't lose there, now look at her ears, we're right there with you.
We hope you enjoyed this bonus podcast. Remember, go to equestrianplus.com to subscribe to our online catalog and enter DT Podcast to get 15% off your first month. Thanks for listening.